Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today's exciting day. We're going to be putting in JDM or EDM rear headrests into my Civic hatch. I got these headrests from Germany, so obviously they are EDM spec. But the colors and all the fabric and stuff shouldn't differ too much between the JDM and EDM. Either way, the headrest style is the same. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to install these the proper way, not the way where people just poke holes into the back of the seat and just stick them in there and have it just loose dangling. I think that's quite stupid and really not functional. So we're going to be doing it the proper way with some welding and fabrication. However, if you guys do want to do rear headrests, there are a couple options you do have. One is to purchase rear seats and basically just put them in, but then they won't match the front seats. Another option is to purchase a full JDM or EDM front and rear seats and put those in, but that's quite costly. Another option is to swap the fabric from your existing seats to a EDM or JDM rear seats, but again, purchasing the rear seats with the headrests is quite costly. The cheapest option is basically to purchase headrests with the mount part. However, a lot of sellers don't really cut the rear seat mount part for you, so they only sell just the rear headrest, which is what I got. So it's really difficult to find everything complete for you to weld on. So my option is basically the cheapest and easiest to find option. So we're just going to get right to work and I'm showing you guys how to do this. Alright guys, so the first thing you're going to need is probably rear headrests, as well as you're going to need guide pins and some steel rod. I'm probably going to put the specs to the steel rod in a description in the video. I don't remember what the spec is. It's, I think, diameter of 0.62 of an inch, but I have to check my receipt to see. Essentially what I did was I found a bunch of specs for rods, and I spec'd it out based off of measurements of the seat here, the headrest rod here. And then I designed my own guide pin using like 3D design, and then I printed this. So all I did was I basically looked up a whole bunch of pictures, and then I designed this myself, and it fits perfectly. I even got all the stuff that's in here perfectly designed so that we could still fit the locking pin in there. So this comes out like this. Basically, push it together, and it unclips like that, and then you push it in and it locks in. So we just have to weld this rod to the rear seats. So what I did, obviously kind of starting this whole thing, is I had to make up the guide pins and the rods. So I had to also file down all the grooves and everything so the guide pin doesn't move and it locks right into place. So you have to make one of these first. I purchased basically a whole bunch of steel tubing like this, basically a long piece. And then I just cut them to size so that they fit. And I did all 4 of them. So before you even start any of that, basically you have to have all this prepped. All right, guys. So next step, basically you have to remove your rear seats. So be careful here because it is a little tricky to do. You basically fold them down. Within each corner on each side, there is a clip right there. You see that? You pull that out and then you shift the seat to this side and it will slide out. Essentially, you do it to this side and that side. There's 2 clips, one on each side. So I'm just going to do that and pull these seats right out. All right, guys, so the seats are out now. All you're going to have to do is get a trim removal tool and pop out all these rivets and take the carpet off of it, because we're going to have to start stripping the fabric and the foam off the seats. All right, the next thing that you're going to have to do is basically, there's a whole bunch of hog pins throughout all around here. You either cut them and then replace them with new ones, or you can bend them out and try to reuse them later. I'm going to go with bend them out and try to reuse them later. So it's going to take some time. We're just going to go one by one with a screwdriver and a set of pliers and see if we can just bend them out. Essentially, you can replace these with zip ties later if you wanted to. I think that's what some people usually end up doing. But for me, I kind of want it to still be a hog pin and still reuse these. There we go. That's one hog pin. So I'm just gonna go and finish this up and then we'll get back to it afterwards. Alright, so we got all the hog pins out on this seat. So let's just work on one seat at a time. Essentially, just peel this stuff back. I just want to make sure I don't mess anything up. Well, it looks like this is held on by a screw, so we're going to remove that Phillips screw. Alright, that screw is out. I think this cover comes right off. Yep. Slide right off like that. Next couple pieces. Not sure how this piece comes out, but we will find out as we stretch this fabric out. Within each inside here, it's held on with another hog pin, so it might be a little difficult to get at that. I'm going to try and remove it. Reinstalling this one's going to be a pain. Oh, it just comes right up. You just twist it. But it looks like there's just two hog pins that hold the seat down there, and then the cover just comes right off, it looks like. However, I just don't know how to get it off this piece. Okay, so it basically just slides off that hole. So based off of the foam like this, now we can figure out where the headrest should go. Would go on like this. I think I have to remove this lock piece. So that slid up. That is a pain in the ass to get out. Now we gotta gently pull the foam away. So essentially, as you can see back here, this is where the headrest would go. Essentially the rods will just stick right here, which is why this is where it is. That's the correct spots for it. There we go. Foam is out. That was a lot of work to get foam out. Alright, with that being said, with that done, this is essentially the area that you need to weld the rod to. So essentially these are the spots for it. You see this little loopy here? That is basically where they will go. Matches up perfectly. Center and center, so the casting is there for it. Alright guys, now it's pretty much ready to tack on. I basically held things on because I can't clamp it on or anything because it's round. I don't have any magnets or anything, so I just took some aluminum foil tape, which is somewhat heat resistant, and then I just taped the rods down, and then now I'm just going to add a couple tacks to hold it in place before I rip off the tape, and then I'm going to continue finishing the weld. One last thing before we actually finish welding it is to make sure that this actually lines up with these holes. If they don't, then it's going to be a problem. right, the rods are welded on, as you can see. Just waiting for it to cool down before I test the guide pins in there and then the headrest. Don't think I'm gonna paint these welds. Just gonna leave them. There we go. Alright guys, so I got the first one mounted up. I actually welded the rod wrong, so the angle is all off on this one. So I have since cut it and fixed it and re-welded it. So the next one I'll show you guys what the proper angle is, but that one was basically a trial and error for the very first one. But it looks good now. Everything is lined up perfectly fine. The color is a little bit off, but that was expected. You know, I mean, maybe I'll paint them in the future or something so that they're same color as my interior, but I don't think they look too bad. I mean, we know it's EDM or JDM anyways. So let's continue with the next one. All right, here's the seat. I'm going to strip out the hog pins, and then I'm going to basically strip out the upholstery and the foam, and then we're going to get to the point where we're going to weld it. So once we get to there, I'll show you guys what the proper angle to weld those rods are. All right guys, so with the foam all stripped out already, everything's stripped out. So you do have to cut the foam because this is glued onto here, but that's okay. It goes back on perfectly fine afterwards. So for the brackets, the rod, this needs to be at the same angle as this here. So this has to sit in the same angle in these spots. So what I'm going to be doing is just basically trying to level it with this, and then we're going to basically weld it on. And those areas actually are a lot easier to clamp because the back here is already angled. So I could actually use this clamp to clamp it down. Yep, that's fine. Now I'm going to check it with a ruler to make sure. That's good. That's lined up. So basically just clamp down. Want it to be pretty much the same angle as this. So I've got it kind of elevated with a wrench, but once it's tacked down, it should be good. Alright guys, so the seats are modified for the headrests already. So I'm going to just basically put the carpet back on, and then we're going to put it back in the car. Of course, upstairs I'm kind of reprinting all the guides that I broke. And just hopefully that those guides don't break again when I put them in, but that's basically it. That's a lot of work just to get these headrests in there properly. But I think it's going to be well worth it. It looks pretty cool when I tested them in the car. Alright guys, so the seats are fully installed, as you can see. And the headrests are on there. It's not one of those where you stick it in the foam and it's dangling. As you can see, it's solid on there. It's not moving anywhere. So if it's just sticking in the foam, it'll just flip and move around. This is really sturdy. So let's take a look from another angle. All right, yeah, take a look at that. That looks freaking awesome. All right, guys, so that was the install for the JDM or EDM rear headrests. I did put them in just like OEM. I don't have the OEM guide pins, but the 3D printed ones work just as fine. However, they're a little brittle, so the head kind of snapped off of it. However, the piece that's supposed to go into the tubing still fits perfectly fine. And it is secure back there and it's not moving around. So it's structurally good as well because I've welded those tubing on there like really well. Anyways, that's basically it for this install, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this helps you guys out. If you haven't already, please comment, like, and subscribe, and share my videos. As always, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.